giving you a voice.
Making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
First Updates Now is brought to you by viewers like you. Fun relies on the generous support of our fans in order to continue to keep creating content. Please consider donating, giving bits, or subscribing. Subscribe for a few bucks a month or for free through Twitch Prime. And don't forget that our subscribers get 5x chance to win on all giveaways.
So I think we're going to move on to the next product that Vex came out with, which is the one I'm most excited about, which is the VersaChassis Mini. So do you guys want to tell us about that?
I actually have a bunch right here. I brought some into the room with us. So here would be the 6-wheel drive version. Here would be, I'm not going to bring them all out. I have a bunch of different versions here. I don't know if you can see them. There's the H-drive, and then the 4-wheel drive is right here. I'll set it down on top. So what we set out to do with this is we set out to make a kit drivetrain for FTC, and we wanted, kind of in the true fashion of VEXpro, making it very versatile for teams to be able to go and adapt what they're buying into whatever they need. So we didn't want to corner people necessarily into one specific design. So what you get is you get the 4-wheel drive with the base version that you buy, and then you can also buy upgrade kits to allow you to do a 6-wheel drive or an H-drive. The other thing that you can do as well is, because it's used a lot of existing products like our VersaPlanetary, you can also go and use some of the attachments. So I think one of the comments that I had seen at some point was someone was talking about how, you can't, how it's on open front and there's not a lot of space in between the center and between the drive rails. You can just cut the drive rail open, or just move the front drive rail somewhere else, and then you could actually buy some of our 180-degree adapters for the VersaPlanetary, put those on, and that opens up a lot of space in the middle, because now your motors will be folded back over the wheel. So that's the gist of the VersaChassis Mini.
Yeah. So someone's asking if they can get a cross view of the box tubing. I don't know if you can hold that up to the camera.
Sure. You mean like hold it this way?
If you could flex while you're doing it.
I don't really know, but there, maybe someone's happy with that. And Vex also has a lot of different gussets and mounting systems, so you could build up with Versa frame, right?
Yeah, so it's the frame is made with our Versa frame system. So it's a series of extrusions that we sell. If you're not comfortable going with the 1x1 by 40 thou, you can go and buy a 1x1 by 100 thou version as well. It's a little heavier, obviously. The other option that you have as well with the VersaPlanetary is now you can go and iterate on your drive ratios as well. So you're not stuck with just a 20-to-1 or a 40-to-1 option. You can go and play with options in between as well, because there's a ton of options in between that 20 and 40 for, when you're using the VersaPlanetary.
Totally, yeah. 12897 Nateless in the chat was wondering that why are the front wheels for the H-drive not driven?
It was just an option that we threw out there. If you wanted to drive them, you could certainly put those motors in there, but we weren't sure how keen teams would be on trying to fit, dedicate 5 motors into their drive base. So the base H-drive kit was just left as a 3-motor drive, but you can certainly adapt it out to be a full 5-motor drive if you wanted to.
And I assume it's pretty easy to throw in some belts and chain in there as well.
Absolutely,
if you just wanted to chain the front ones, chain the side to side, and then have the other one independent. Yep.
And then the other thing that we did too is we released 2 guides that go along with the assembly instructions and the user guides. One is a speed chart. So what we do is we give like an approximate robot weight and what your drive ratio is and what your wheel size is, and it'll tell you what your speed will be. But we also give you an approximation of like, hey, this is a safe gear ratio to use. Hey, this is a little more aggressive, or like, yeah, you should probably not do this. The other thing that we do is we have the VersaChassis Mini tips and tricks guide that go through like different modifications you can make to it to make it a little more adaptable for what your needs are. So like some examples would be like how to get rid of having to use shaft collars, how you can use VEXpro wheels with it, using the 180-degree VersaPlanetary adapter with it. So there's all kinds of little things in there. We'll continue to add to that document as people come up with new uses.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Ethan, do you have any questions about this chassis?
I have one really quick. I know a lot of teams have kind of the sore taste in their mouth from direct drive motors off of gearboxes. Is this something that you've tested a lot with, or how do you feel about the versaplanetary lights in that sort of scenario? I know
Yes.
that's supported.
So what we did is we actually built up a whole bunch of these. Actually, I'll show you one of them because I have it here. We have an intern who used to be a VRC student. If you want to pull that off the. We have an intern that used to be a VRC student, and we just lost the ball. And I think we showed this in the video, but we made a bunch of robots actually using the VersaChassis MIDI. We also used some that you were using FTC motors to play this year's current VRC game. We were driving around in a field that we have in our lab and playing the VRC game, having them run around and smash into each other, the sides of the fields, the platforms in the VRC game, and they were holding up just fine. So no issues there. Because you're using an actual ball bearing on the outside of the shaft there, that provides you a little extra strength. And there's already two shafts supporting the other end of the, or two bearings, sorry, supporting the other end of the shaft on the VersaPlanetary anyway. So plenty of strength there.
Yeah. Ian from 13752 has a question. They're wondering that if the Mecanum upgrade comes with the VEX EDR or the VEXpro Mecanum wheels. Mecanum.
So all you would do, there's not a Mecanum upgrade. I'll go ahead and use Nathan's term, Mecanum. There's not a Mecanum upgrade kit for the VersaChassis. All you're going to do is you're going to buy the base VersaChassis mini kit, and then you're going to just go buy Mecanum wheels to go on them. The ones that we use in all the documentation and everything are the VEX EDR ones, but you can certainly go and adapt it to use the VEXpro ones as well, because we have the same size Mecanum wheel in VEXpro and EDR. So either one will work.
That's great. Ethan, any more questions? Chat, any more questions? What else do you guys want to know about this new awesome kit? No,
I don't really have a whole lot else. It is interesting to see an H drive. We don't see a lot of H drives normally in FTC. It's kind of a rarity. So it was a neat addition to be like, oh, hey, that's still a viable drivetrain.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons we did it. Was they're like really popular and the VEX IQ Challenge, but we didn't see a ton of them in FTC, and we weren't sure if it was just due to like there wasn't an easy way to do it. So we were like, oh, we'll just throw together an H drive upgrade kit for this, and that way teams have this other option to play with as well.
Hey John, looking at previous years FTC games, is there one that you're like, man, an H drive would have been pretty cool for something like that?
Probably last year. A lot of teams ended up going and doing using Mecanums last year. An H drive would have probably been just as effective at doing the same thing, especially with some of the teams that were concerned about being able to climb over onto the balancing platforms last year. You could have probably just upsized your Omni wheels on your H drive and done the same thing.
Yeah.
There were a few, maybe two that I know of, teams that used H drives last year or U drives, but they were not very common.
So what are your favorite versions of the different chassis?
I'm a little partial due to my FRC background. I'm probably a little more partial to the 6-wheel drive one, only because I think it was the one that you actually just took on.
Yeah.
Actually. So we point this out in the video. But one of the things we did on the 6-wheel drive is when we have the two wheels in the front that are driven by chain, we built in these cam tensioners. These are the WCP cam tensioners that Amanda was talking about earlier. So instead of you having to do direct center to center spacing on your drivetrain, you can actually, this bearing block will float when there's no chain attached to it. So the bearing block can slide side to side, the chain is attached, and then this cam will go and push the chain out. So you can do all your tensioning without having to do super precise drilling. So if you're kind of in the ballpark, you can keep your chains tight. The other thing it allows you to do is like over the season, if your chain stretches, you can easily just tighten it back up without having to go and like replace all the chain on your robot. So that would probably be one of my favorite configurations.
So for this configuration, Crispin is wondering, in the chat's wondering, is the center dropped? Or are they all even?
They are all even, and we explain a little bit of that in the user guide about when you would need a center drop versus when you don't need a center drop. One of the options that we do have is the traction wheel and the Omni wheel, the 4-inch traction wheel and the 4-inch Omni wheel in VEX EDR are just a little off. So if you did need that center drop, you can run the traction wheel in the center and then run the Omni wheels on the side. Obviously, that's one specific drivetrain. But you can also play around with different sizes or applying extra traction material to try and get a center drop if you felt you needed that center drop. So.
Yeah, and we have 2 more questions from the chat. Crabbing_B is wondering, what's the VP light output? I assume what shaft is the output shaft?
I actually grabbed one of those. So what it is we have we released this last year, and what it is, it's the universal female output shaft. So it's a little nub that sticks out, and there's an internal spline in here. And then what you can do is you can pop in an adapter, and then you can run whatever shaft you want. We were getting a lot of customers that were asking about running longer VP shafts than what we sold, but everybody wanted a different length. So we were like, well, rather than like make a whole bunch of different sizes, we'll just make this, and then people can choose whatever size they want. So one of the options that we have on this is a 1/4" square output. So you can pop that in and then run your 1/4" square shaft out. So by default, we just recommend running the 1/4" square, but the VersaPlanetary light that comes with the VersaChassis Mini has also the 3/8 adapter and the 1/2" X adapter. So you can use all 3 of those, or any 3 of those if you wanted to as well.
Are you guys ever going to create a 6mm D shaft output?
It is actually designed, and we weren't sure how popular it would be right away. But it's one of those things that's designed, but we just haven't made it yet. So it's certainly an option for future products.
All right, nice. I know, yeah, my team exclusively uses D shaft. Maybe we'll switch to hex after all these products, but I feel like D shaft is really what's dominant right now. So Jacob from 9052 is wondering, where can he find the speed charts on the VEX website?
If you go to our so if you go to the VersaChassis Mini webpage and you scroll down to the bottom, there's a link that says Docs and Downloads. And under there should be the VersaChassis Mini speed charts right there. It'll be that last link there. So if you click on that and then scroll down, it'll bring up all the different configurations, different types of wheels, different wheel sizes, gear ratios, all that. So the reds are the ones that you want to try to avoid. The yellows are the ones that are like, yeah, it's aggressive, but you might be okay. And the greens are the ones that are safe. But we explain all that in the very beginning of that guide.